The Olympic Games originated in ancient Greece as many as 3,000 years ago. Welcome to Yes Story. The ancient Olympic Games were primarily a part of a religious festival in honor of Zeus, the father of the Greek gods and goddesses. The festival and the games were held in Olympia, a rural sanctuary site in the western Peloponnesos, currently in the western Greece region. The Greeks that came to the Sanctuary of Zeus at Olympia shared the same religious beliefs and spoke the same language. The athletes were all male citizens of the city-states from every corner of the Greek world, coming from as far away as Iberia is today Spain, and in the west, and the Black Sea, which is today Turkey, in the east. The sanctuary was named in antiquity after Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in mainland Greece. In Greek mythology, Mount Olympus was the home of the greatest of the Greek gods and goddesses. Zeus, king of the Greek gods, was said to have taken up residence in Olympia around 1200 BC when the Eleans conquered the surrounding area. The fearsome deity marked his ascension by hurling a thunderbolt into the sacred grove from his home atop Mount Olympus. The city-state of Elis, the administrative center of which was about a day's walk north from Olympia, ran the games throughout the vast majority of its life cycle, with the Eleans seizing full control from their local rivals the Pisans in 572 BC. Despite the stadium accommodating more than 40,000 people during the height of the game's popularity in the 2nd century AD, it always remained a deeply rural setting. The ancient Olympic Games began in the year 776 BC when Korobos, a cook from the nearby city of Elis, won the stadium race, a foot race 600 feet long. According to some literary traditions, this was the only athletic event of the Games for the first 13 Olympic festivals, or until 724 BC. From 776 BC, the Games were held in Olympia every 4 years for almost 12 centuries. Based on contrary evidence, both literary and archaeological, suggests that the Games may have existed at Olympia much earlier than this date, perhaps as early as the 10th or 9th century BC. The Games took place among the sanctuary itself for many years. The sacred olive tree of Zeus, from which the victory wreaths were cut, marked the finishing line for all races. The first stadium, a simple affair using the natural embankments of the surrounding hills, remained within the dayfight area too. The discovery of more than 150 wells dating to this time indicates that even this early in the life of the Olympic Games, they attracted considerable attention. By the mid-4th century BC, the third incarnation of the stadium was built. Spacious and with the look and feel of a more modern venue, spectator attendance grew by around 50%. The position of the stadium had been shifted, with events no longer finishing at the altar of Zeus. But the site lost none of its religious potency during the vast majority of the 1,000-plus years of the ancient games, its diversity being key to its survival. The Greeks were aggressively polytheistic, so while Olympia was a sanctuary to Zeus, we know that he wasn't the only deity worshipped at the site. There were over 70 different altars you could sacrifice to pretty much anyone you wanted to. While the Eleans maintained a permanent presence at Olympia, conducting monthly sacrifices, the site turned, for 1 week per year, from an essentially peaceful idol into the mad, riotous center of Greece. Anyone who wanted to get a big audience from all over the Greek world showed up in Olympia. Painters, artists, orators all went there to put their wares on display. We know there was total chaos for a week because anyone who wanted to raise their profile, this was the place and time to do it. But how about the marathon? The marathon was not an event of the ancient Olympic Games despite of what you may have thought. The marathon is a modern event that was first introduced in the modern Olympic Games of 1896 in Athens, a race from Marathon northeast of Athens to the Olympic Stadium, a distance of 40 kilometers. The race commemorates the run of Peloponnesos, an ancient day runner who carried the news of the Persian landing at Marathon of 490 BC to Sparta, a distance of 149 miles in order to enlist help for the battle. According to the 5th century BC ancient Greek historian Herodotus, Peloponnesos delivered the news to the Spartans the next day. The distance of the modern marathon was standardized as 26 miles, 385 yards or 42.195 kilometers. In 1908, when the Olympic Games were held in London, the distance was the exact measurement between Windsor Castle, the start of the race, and the finish line inside White City Stadium. Let's talk about nudity at the Olympic Games. Yes, that is right, nudity. There are two stories relating to the question of nudity at the ancient Olympic Games. One story says that it was a runner from Megara, or Sippos or Bosu, in 720 BC, was the first to run naked in the Stadian race when he lost his shorts in the race. Another story is that it was the Spartans who introduced nudity to the Olympic Games in the 8th century BC, as it was a Spartan tradition. It is not clear if the very first recorded victor at Olympia, Coroebos, who won the Stadian race in 776 BC, wore shorts or not. It seems fairly clear that by the late 8th century nudity was common for the male contestants. Stay with us to learn more about modern Olympic. Although the ancient games were staged in Olympia, Greece from 776 BC through 393 AD, it took 1,503 years for the Olympics to return. The first modern Olympics were held in Athens, Greece in 1896. In the opening ceremony, first King Georgios and a crowd of 60,000 spectators welcomed 280 participants from 13 nations and yes, all men, who would compete in 43 events, like track and field, gymnastics, swimming, wrestling, cycling, tennis, weightlifting, shooting, and fencing. All subsequent Olympiads have been numbered even when no games take place, for example in 1916, during First World War, and in 1940 and 44, and also during Second World War. The official symbol of the modern games is 5 interlocking colored rings, representing the continents of North and South America, Asia, Africa, Europe, and Australia. The Olympic flag, featuring this symbol on a white background, flew for the first time at the Antwerp Games in 1920. At the same time, the Olympic oath was introduced. The Olympics truly took off as an international sporting event after 1924, when the 8th Games were held in Paris. Some 3,000 athletes, with more than 100 women among them from 44 nations, competed that year, and for the first time the Games featured a closing ceremony. The Winter Olympics debuted that year, with events like figure skating, ice hockey, bobsledding, and the biathlon. 80 years later, when the 2004 Summer Olympics returned to Athens for the first time in more than a century, nearly 11,000 athletes from a record 201 countries competed. In a gesture that joined both ancient and modern Olympic traditions, the shot put competition that year was held at the site of the classical games in Olympia. What do you think about the Olympic flame? What is the story behind? Stay with us. The idea of the Olympic torch or Olympic flame was first inaugurated in the 1928 Olympic Games in Amsterdam. There was no torch relay in the ancient Olympic Games. There were known, however, torch relays in other ancient Greek athletic festivals, including those held at Athens. The modern Olympic torch relay was first instituted at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. Yes, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share, and like.